rekindling the sigil, a story of the rickety and humanity. They said we were once magnificent, that for 1,000,000 years the rickety people knew no fear, no hunger, and no loss. We were artisans and philosophers, engineers and dreamers, weaving tapestries of culture and technology that dazzled the galaxy. From our shipyards drifted vessels of elegant design. From our universities poured forth knowledge that traveled light years, and from our gardens sprang rare fruits that delighted countless species. We traced our history through carved stones and digital libraries spanning eons, and every piece bore the same sigil, a long, sinuous form with 2 graceful tails and an elongated head, flanked by subtle manipulator limbs. This emblem, stamped upon every exported good, was our mark of excellence. In a universe of many races, the rickety name stood for craftsmanship, beauty, and wisdom. We assumed this esteem would breed respect and admiration. We were wrong. The fall of the sigil. They came like a thunderclap, an alliance of species who bore old resentments and new hungers. Jamung Sil Tigothian, we had known their names for millennia, welcomed them as customers and occasionally as neighbors. Yet envy festered in their hearts. They feared what we could become, or maybe they simply could not tolerate our prominence. We had grown complacent, leaving the arts of war and defenses as afterthoughts. We lacked fleets bristling with weapons or armies drilled for battle. We believed in diplomacy and trade. We believed no one would strike at us because we had given no cause. Their warships blitzed through our territory, each star system a stage for their devastation. Our homeworld, our cradle of civilization with monuments that soared into the violet skies, was bombarded down to the bedrock. 1,000,000 years of history, wiped away in days. We, the rickety, who had never known true fear, stood helpless. All the knowledge and wonders we had gathered mattered nothing at that hour. We might have cried out for aid from old friends or distant allies. But our allies scattered, unwilling to risk the wrath of this alliance. Every colony we held was either crushed or claimed. Our sigil became a mark of doom. Terrified, a few survivors scrambled aboard the last ships not seized by the invaders. We fled, a ragtag flotilla of hollow-eyed refugees, drifting into the galaxy's underbelly, carrying scraps of once great technology. Becoming nobodies. Our flotilla drifted through unnamed regions, selling what meager remnants we had: old star charts, cultural artifacts, a few salvageable relics of our once grand civilization. We scrubbed our sigil off everything, for it no longer guaranteed respect, only danger. Even the species who once called us friends refused to harbor us, fearful that the alliance might come for them as well. And so, the mighty rickety became nomads, unsettled and unwanted, forever on the move. And so we meandered, year after empty year, crossing unknown space. The galaxy's vibrant centers, with their bustling trade, were far behind us. We sailed past ancient nebulas and lonely frontier worlds. Some ships failed mid-journey, their crews taken in by others. Our numbers dwindled. The rickety, once 1,000,000 strong, now counted in the thousands. Eventually, after drifting for what felt like centuries, we found a curious beacon, a shining blue jewel set in the black velvet of space, a world that called itself Earth. A blue refuge. Earth lay on the fringes of a distant spiral arm, inhabited by a young, awkward species they called humans. We approached with caution. We were no threat, just weary travelers in search of rest. Their response astonished us. They welcomed us, not with fanfare or demands, but with quiet acceptance. They gave us portions of their oceans and a scattering of small islands. By their standards, we still seemed advanced, at least in what we could teach, but we had nothing material of value left. No fleets, no treasures, just knowledge and stories. Why did they let us stay? We never fully understood their motives. Perhaps kindness, perhaps curiosity. They asked for no tribute. In our depleted state, we could scarcely offer more than a whisper of what we once were. Yet they said, "You may live here. You are safe." Safe. The word carried a sweetness we had almost forgotten. Humans were primitives by galactic measure. Many of them lived much as they always had, tied to their home planet. They knew little of interstellar travel. Before our tragedy, we might have pitied them. Now we felt only gratitude. Earth, a world of green forests, roaring seas, and complex cultures, was an oasis of kindness after a desert of hostility. Teaching the younger species. We decided we must repay them. Though our star charts were outdated and our technology decayed, we retained memories and theoretical knowledge of advanced engineering, medicine, and philosophy. So we taught humans what we could. They listened eagerly, absorbing principles that took us millennia to refine, adapting them to their simpler means. They were inventive beyond measure, turning complex theories into practical tools, building starships where once they had only telescopes. Decades passed. Humans stepped beyond their solar system's edge, established their first fragile colonies. We guided them quietly, never again seeking grandeur, never pressing them to defend us. We expected nothing more than a quiet coexistence, healing our wounded hearts while they forged their destiny. Then came the messenger from the Alliance. We recognized the insignia on its ship from afar, Jemung heraldry, or was it Syl script beneath the plating? They had tracked us. The war that destroyed us was old history to them, but the memory of their cruelty still burned in our hearts. They demanded Earth hand over the rickety refugees. No surrender, no exchange. We braced ourselves for another exile. We prepared to leave Earth, to spare these humans the wrath of the Alliance. The message from the Jemung was clear: hand over the rickety, or we will destroy you both. We told the humans it was best if we left quietly to save them. We were nobody now. Who would fight for us? The humans, in their strange, stubborn way, refused to surrender us. We were stunned. Didn't they realize what they risked? The Alliance was vast, battle-hardened. Humans had a handful of new ships and some improved technology, nothing close to what we once possessed. They were but children compared to the star-spanning might of our old enemies. Yet the humans stood firm. "No," they told the Jemung ambassador. "These refugees are under our protection. If you want them, come and get them." The ambassador was incredulous. Did the humans not understand the balance of power? Oh, the humans understood perfectly. But they did not weigh costs like most species. They saw a principle at stake, that bullies yield only to resistance, not capitulation. They would fight a hopeless war rather than betray the trust we had built. We pleaded with the humans. "Leave us! We are not worth your ruin." They refused, saying, "You are our guests and our friends. We will not abandon you." We were speechless. Never had we encountered such madness, or was it valor? A war on the fringe. The Alliance took months to assemble a proper invasion force. They believed Earth would fold once faced with overwhelming odds. But humans had time to prepare. Inspired by our histories of ancient defense strategies, by their own ingenuity, they fortified their outer colonies and set traps in outlying systems. Though their weaponry and fleets were dwarfed by the Alliance's might, they intended to make every Alliance victory Pyrrhic. The first battle occurred near the Cygnus sector. A human scouting flotilla ambushed an Alliance vanguard, scoring a few kills before being forced to retreat when reinforcements arrived. Next came a pitched battle that humans lost badly, entire squadrons obliterated. Any other species would have surrendered then and there. But not humans. After the defeat at Cygnus, they doubled their efforts. Factories on Earth and her few off-world colonies churned out weapons at frantic pace. Scientists refined techniques we rickety survivors vaguely recalled, shields that flickered in unique patterns, advanced targeting heuristics, improvised gravity mines. Every setback taught humans a lesson they would use in the next engagement. The Alliance, puzzled by humanity's refusal to yield, tried diplomacy. They offered Earth a chance to hand us over again. Humans just said, "No, and please leave." The Alliance's fury grew. They threw larger fleets into the fray, determined to crush this upstart world. We, the rickety, helped where we could, manning consoles, advising on tactics gleaned from the tragic logs of our past. The war dragged on. The Alliance found itself mired in a quagmire. Their supply lines stretched thin, their morale frayed by unexpected human cunning. Humans sacrificed colonies and ships without breaking. They would retreat and scorch their old positions, then strike at weak points. Guerrilla warfare in space. Who would have thought it possible? An unlikely turnabout. Whispers spread among neighboring species, who watched from afar. The Alliance's brutality was notorious, and now they faced a foe that would not bend. Nearby civilizations began to rethink their neutrality. They saw that humanity, though primitive, fought for a principle that might benefit them all. If the Alliance could be beaten here, maybe no one would have to fear them again. One by one, smaller powers tested the Alliance's fringes. A logistics squadron got ambushed, lost all its freighters. A surveying team vanished and a forbidden nebula rumored to hide human traps. Each minor defeat chipped away at the Alliance's image of invincibility. Then an event sealed the Alliance's fate. The Togothian contingent, once the terror of our galaxy, decided they had enough. They withdrew, leaving gaps in the Alliance line. The Sil, furious, tried to hold the line alone. The Jamung pleaded for unity, but it was too late. Allies turned on each other with blame and suspicion. The human fleet, bolstered by volunteer ships from newly sympathetic species, launched coordinated strikes. We rickety joined as best we could, our few ships symbolic but determined. And when the final climactic battle arrived, the Alliance was a pale shadow of what it once was. As we watched human admirals orchestrate a deadly ballet of starships, we recognized something extraordinary. Humans were rewriting the galaxy's power balance through sheer tenacity. They won a victory we rickety could never have achieved alone. Out of respect and gratitude, we fought alongside them. Our ancient sigil, once a hated mark, began quietly reappearing on our few vessels, a promise that we dared to hope again. After the storm, victory came abruptly. The Alliance survivors scattered back to their distant homes, where hungry neighbors awaited. Humanity and its allies declared the war over. The galaxy heaved a sigh of relief. Now came the rebuilding. Humans turned to us, the rickety refugees, and asked how we might restore our culture. We did not know where to begin. Everything that mattered was gone. Our homeworld, dust. Our archives, lost. Even our language had begun to mix with human tongues. We were old yet diminished, wise yet empty. Perhaps, we whispered, we should just remain wanderers. But Earth was now home, and humans insisted that we deserved more. They established a council of equals, humans, rickety, and other friendly species. Together we drafted charters, ensuring no species would again be cast into exile. The galaxy would not return to the old hierarchies. Humans, though war-scarred and new to the cosmic stage, argued passionately for compassion, inclusion, and cultural renaissance. We rickety taught them subtle arts, how to record history and harmonize light displays, how to weave meaning into the design of starships. Humans taught us resilience and the bittersweet joy of a hard-won future. We began rebuilding, not as a solitary species atop a pyramid, but as partners. A reflection of lessons. One day, after treaties were signed and embassies exchanged, I ventured into a human city. Its streets bustled with aliens and humans alike. A festival was underway to celebrate the end of the war. I approached a human historian, curious about their perspective. "Why?" I asked him. "Why fight a war risking everything for us, a broken people with nothing to offer?" He smiled gently. "You gave us knowledge when we had none. But more than that, you trusted us. You were our guests. We learned from you, just as you learned from us. To betray that trust would be to betray ourselves. And we humans have a complicated relationship with betrayal. It drives us mad with anger. We'd rather fight and risk loss than live with shame." I tried to comprehend such logic. In the grand calculus of galactic politics, it made little sense. But in the human heart, it was crystal clear. Principles, loyalty, courage, these intangible currencies guided their decisions. He continued, "Look at what we've built together. Not a new empire, but a fragile alliance. We all paid in blood and tears, but now we have a chance to shape a better future. Because we chose to stand together, not bow to fear." Epilogue. The sigil rises again. We rickety survivors gathered on a small island humans had granted us long ago. Once it was just a haven, now it was a place of renewal. We built a hall to house what few relics we recovered or recreated from memory. We etched our sigil once more onto a central pillar, the long, sinuous form, 2 tails, elongated head, and delicate limbs. Humans attended the unveiling ceremony. They watched respectfully as we performed an old rite, a quiet chant in our ancient tongue, blending notes of mourning and hope. Some of us wept openly. We had come so far, from the top of galactic civilization to the bottom of despair, then drifting refugees, and now a people rediscovering themselves through friendship. A human leader, a diplomat named Kasha, addressed us softly. "Your sigil once symbolized unattainable splendor. Now it represents endurance and rebirth. We're proud to have stood with you." I spoke in reply, my voice trembling. "We once believed respect came from our finest works. We learned respect can also come from shared sacrifice. Thank you for teaching us that." The crowd applauded gently. Humans and rickety, archery, and a few others curious enough to attend. The galaxy felt closer, smaller. As if old walls had crumbled and new bridges spanned cosmic gulfs. Beyond the tale. Years passed. Trade routes multiplied. Worlds once fearful learned to trust again. Humanity's reckless courage inspired others to confront bullies and tyrants. Where the alliance had been a symbol of terror, now a federation of free species emerged, guided by principles hammered out in countless debates and councils. At one such council, I met an ancient Tegothian scholar. He asked, "Did you ever imagine your people would find a second home on a young world like Earth?" I shook my head. We imagined many things in our golden age, but never that we'd lose it all and find shelter with a people we once would have dismissed as backward. Life is strange. He hummed thoughtfully. Your story has become legend. The people who lost everything found rebirth among primitives who refused to submit. It's said that's how progress truly emerges, from unexpected alliances. I smiled wryly. Perhaps it is. Or perhaps we were just lucky. A galaxy remade. In time, the Triple Alliance vanished as a force. The Jamung retreated to isolation. The Sil underwent political reforms. The Tegothians were forced to negotiate peace treaties. The horrors of that war faded into textbooks and cautionary tales. On Earth, a monument rose by the sea, a grand mural depicting humans and rickety side by side, forging a bond under starlight. Students visited, learning how cooperation overcame arrogance and cruelty. We rickety established academies to teach old arts and sciences once more. Humans enrolled in our classes, while we learned from their literature and philosophies. It was a cross-pollination of culture, each species enriching the other. One evening, after a lecture, a human poet and I watched the sky. He mused, "Your sigil once promised excellence. Now, might it stand for something else? For unity, for resilience?" I considered his words. Yes, the sigil had evolved beyond its origin. Where once it bragged of our unmatched skill, now it was a quiet badge that said, "We survive. We adapt. We share." Humans could read that meaning too. They had shared their world and risked war, after all. Wisdom of the ancients. Sometimes I think back to the elders who survived the great downfall. They must have felt unimaginable grief. They saw our glory undone. Yet if they could see us now, broken, yes, but mended in unexpected ways, would they find solace? We are no longer the distant, admired rickety, secure in our supremacy. We are more humble, more aware of life's fragility. We have learned that nothing is guaranteed, that trust can bloom in the darkest times, that even a species new to the stars can defy mighty foes. Humans, for all their quirks and flaws, taught us to value courage over comfort, persistence over pride. Standing on a high cliff above Earth's ocean, I watch a human spacecraft lift off toward new frontiers. It carries both human and rickety explorers, heading to rediscover old star systems, maybe find relics of our lost culture. I feel no bitterness. Our past is gone, but the future is ours to shape. Conclusion: a million years anew. We rickety once measured time in millions of years, secure in stability. That stagnation blinded us. Humans count centuries as vast epochs, but they fill them with restless change. Now united, we straddle both perspectives. We know how to endure long ages, but also how to seize fleeting opportunities. If the galaxy ever questions our worth again, they will remember the war over Earth, remember how humans and rickety stood side by side. Our enemies learned that threats mean nothing to those who won't be cowed. Other species learned that compassion and alliance can triumph over brute force. I close these reflections with a final thought. We survived our darkest moment not by ourselves, but with help from a species who refused to abandon decency. Once, we believed that the quality of our exports guaranteed esteem. Now we know true esteem arises from shared ideals, from loyalty in adversity. The sigil of the rickety, once a sign of unattainable excellence, now symbolizes a bond with humanity and a lesson etched in cosmic memory. Greatness does not reside solely in unchallenged power, but in the courage to defend the vulnerable and the will to build anew, even after unimaginable loss. We have a million years of greatness behind us, and perhaps humanity, and we together have a million years of greatness yet to come.